Hello, everyone. My name is Joyce Mashaya. Welcome to the Youth Empowerment Hub, where we share insights to help young people grow and thrive. So today we have Kirsten. Hello, Kirsten. It's really great to have you here at the Youth Empowerment Hub.
Yeah, it's so lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Joy.
Yeah, I remember I met Kirsten during the Youth for Biosecurity Fellowship, and I remember being impressed by how confident and organized you were. When you speak, people listen, and the ability to stay on top of things is inspiring. So today, we'd love to hear your story on how you became so confident and how you stay so organized. So you can share your story and your journey with us and give us practical tips. Thank you so much. So the first question is, tell us about yourself. What's your background and what do you do?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's pretty lovely and an honor to be remembered fondly in that way from the fellowship. It was a lovely experience with you. Yeah, my background is I am an early career biosecurity researcher. My studies were focused on global health and health sciences and public health, and I've wanted to widen that into more broader pandemic preparedness and global catastrophic biological risk protection. And so I focus on the governance aspect of biosecurity, and I've been doing different research projects the past couple of years, but I'm an incoming master's student this fall, and I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, I'm so excited. Can you also share how did you develop your confidence? Was there a specific experience that shaped it?
Yeah, that's a very interesting and nuanced question because I think I would like to say that my confidence is much quieter than it looks, and I would describe it as inner steadiness than outward boldness. I feel fearful of outward boldness sometimes, but it's something I push myself to do. And I think for me, it grew slowly from taking action in small, consistent ways. I remember being very anxious, just generally growing up and in a lot of different spaces. And it was only in like bigger spaces that kind of had more weight to it that I started just getting very, very shaken. And I realized that it's in action, it's through practice that suddenly these experiences become more familiar. And throughout the years, I've learned that things that are just scary and that shake your confidence are just unfamiliar. And so it's important to like make these more familiar to you by practicing. And once I asked, there were some women that I really admired in different experiences I went through, and I asked them, "How are you this way?" or "Do you have advice on this thing?" And they'd always say it's practice. And so I think that
Mhm.
really stayed with me. And I take that upon myself to just make sure I go out there and practice. And slowly things that are scary become more familiar and become less scary. And you can carry yourself much more smoothly in those situations, I think.
Oh, thank you. I do agree with you. Practice makes perfect. Thank you so much for giving us your insights. And the other question is, what advice would you give to young people who struggle with confidence?
Yeah. Apart from saying that the idea of the antidote to anxiety is action and practice, I think you just
Mhm.
start where you are. I think it's important to
Yeah.
meet yourself where you are and not be ashamed of wherever that is. And don't wait until you feel ready. You know, a woman I really admire, Princess Diana, once said, carry out a random act of kindness with no expectation of reward. And I think confidence works the same way. You know, it's you don't perform it, you just practice it without expecting reward. It's for yourself, or it's for hopefully what you're aiming for. So do something kind of brave, even if no one's watching. And I think your self image will catch up. And I think another another practical tip that has helped me throughout the years, it's just that posture matters. I was taught this by my mom, and a lot of people thankfully say that I have good posture, which I wouldn't say is the case all the time. But um, yeah, shoulders back, eye contact, a string pulling you up, and steady breath. And I think it sends a signal to both you and the world.
Thank you for sharing your insights, Kirsten. You're one of the most organized people during the fellowship. I remember when I wrote the speech, I actually mentioned Kirsten, our organizer, because we're so organized. So, what strategies or habits do you use to stay on top of your task and also your deadlines?
Yeah, thanks for that. That was such a lovely surprise to hear when you did that graduation speech. So yeah, I think I think of organization as a form of care, because at least
Mm.
for me and my personality, it's how I protect my peace and honor my commitments, or make space for creativity, because you have more, like in cuisine, you have this term called mise en place, which means like everything in place, and that allows you to have more creativity. And so once I have that mindset, like I think the secret is having a rhythm versus like a rigid routine. And I think this is what was different for me across the years, because I used to force myself to stick to a rigid routine, and I think instead it would mess me up, or at least with my personality, if I didn't follow a routine, or I didn't clock in, my time block, then I would kind of just not be in the right mindset. I think that does not help. So yeah, I think that's the mindset is a big part, and the idea of being prepared. um, I really like the idea of being prepared. It makes you less anxious about something, and yeah, I would pair being prepared with being organized. But um, with regard to what you asked about strategies or habits, I think it's important to find the system that works for you, and to follow the energy. I think I used to think about a lot of practical little advice that a lot of productivity gurus use online, which is like weekly resets, which I do and I love. Check in with your calendar, task list, and energy, and time blocking, breaking your tasks into small goals. Those all work, and I think if you incorporate them to a system that works for you, those those would at least help keep you forward, because they're supposed to keep things always in the loop. Um, and I think
Oh,
maybe I'd like.
thank you so.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I think there are many other things that you can concretely do. Like finding the specific app or tool or technique that works for you. But I think it doesn't fit one single person. I think it's about finding a rhythm and finding the system that clocks in everything, and then to always have gentle boundaries for yourself. Yeah.
Wow, that's so insightful. Thank you so much. So I'm going to take you back again to ask, are there any specific applications, tools, or techniques you recommend for staying organized?
Yeah.
Because I
Oh my
remember
God.
we used a lot of tools to make us all organized.
um, yeah, I think I'm fortunate. I've worked with a lot of people that have taught me certain tools. I do feel conscious though about imposing them on others, which is like something that can happen, because not everyone would work the same way that I do,
Yeah,
for
true.
example. So tools are like very user friendly, that would work for most people. Like, let's say you're dealing with a huge group of people. Sometimes you have to use something to get everything in one go. If you're complicating it by being like, everyone, you should download this thing, and
Mm.
then it probably won't work out. But if you're using something that everyone can just easily do, for example, for scheduling, something that I use personally is Calendly. It's easier when you have it and someone can like book with you. But it might be difficult as well, depending on like on how, because it's time zone malleable, so it adjusts to different time zones, and I think that helps. But tools for like system management. Personally, for daily stuff, I just use a notebook, or a Google Docs doc, like a like one document. I think one like that personally helps the most for me, and then just using Google Calendar for your schedule and deadlines. Um, because I've literally used like so many different types of organizational systems and apps online, which a lot of people would recommend. But though I think once I've boiled it down to just that and being simple, it keeps my mind off things. But I would recommend people to use Notion or Asana if you're working with a team, if um,
Mm.
if that if somehow Asana, like you could get like the paid version, but that works if you're working with a team. I think that's a really great tool. I also really recommend uh what was called Complis before. I think now it's renamed, but it's a goal based task management system, and I remember using this back then. And once I once I so you set your goals for the whole year in a way, and you kind of attribute tasks to these different goals throughout the year, and then you always have space for check-ins and all that. And I remember achieving every single goal that I put for myself at that year when I used it. But then I
Oh,
as I like, yeah, yeah. Uh but the last thing I'll say is, sorry, I could go on and on about all these different systems and my experiences with them. But reclaim.ai, that's it's free, with purchases possible, but it's mostly free, and I enjoy it a lot. It uses AI to help you plot your schedule and pairs well with Google Calendar. Um, Use it, and you can plot your tasks in there as well. But yeah, those are recommendations. But my current usage is really just a document and Google Calendar in my notebook.
oh, thank you for sharing. And then I'll move to another question, but you have touched a little bit on this. How do you balance confidence and organization together in your personal and professional life?
Ooh, yeah. That's quite interesting. I think organization builds a foundation that confidence can stand on. Um, like I mentioned, that when I know what's coming, I'm not in survival mode. I'm present, prepared, and composed. And when I feel confident, I trust myself to adapt when things don't go as planned. And so I think confidence and organization are kind of a quiet power couple. Um,
Mm,
so I think when they work, yeah, so I think that's how they would work together in my personal and professional life. And so whether it's for a conference or a class, or even just any personal meeting or whatnot, any type of preparation, whether it's like, okay, I'm going to someone's house, they're hosting me for dinner, I'll bring something. It's important for me to
mm,
bring like a bottle of wine or something. Um, or if it's a conference and there's readings, like it's really good to do the readings, in an efficient way. And yeah, all these kind of helps you just feel grounded, and that's kind of how what my belief is in confidence organization.
yeah, I agree with you. Confidence and organization are power couple. Thank you so much for that. So we move on to the final advice. If you could give just one piece of advice to young people who want to be more confident and organized, what would it be?
Yeah, billion-dollar question. I I heard this quote from Jennifer Garner, this actress I really love. She said, "If you want high self-esteem, do esteemable things." And
Mm,
that really stuck with me because I realized that I'm much more confident when I'm doing things that are would make me confident, or stuff that I would be proud of, whether it's like an accomplishment or something that aligns with my values. I think it it helps me just have a grounded self-esteem that doesn't go through the roof because I'm just happy. And the word esteemable is not really a word in the dictionary, but I think everyone might be able to understand what it means. You do something that you can be proud of. And I think
yeah,
that also is the same with organization. And maybe you can be proud of being organized. I think that's something people look for, and it's something that just helps you throughout life. Whatever organized might mean for you. Some people it's like a completely different meaning um, than others. So, but yeah, yeah, I think that would be what I would like to put on like a billboard.
oh, thank you so much. I appreciate. Thank you for coming to the Youth Empowerment Hub. We have learned a lot of things from you, from organization and confidence. And I'm sure we have learned a lot of things from you, from organization and confidence. And I'm sure other young people would learn and they're going to implement your strategies into their lives and grow and thrive. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joy. I really appreciate it. It's nice seeing you again.
All right, bye.